Hey guys, welcome back to the Arthritis Podcast, official podcast of digital and creative media works, where each week we take something from pop culture and try to break it down to better understand it. My name is David.
Hi.
I'm here as well.
Hey, Adley.
Also, ThatAdly's here. Hi, Adam.
Hi.
Wave to the camera.
Wave to your camera. We can't see you waving, but I'm gonna trust that you're doing it.
Wait, no. Where is your camera pointing as far as like compass bearing goes? I can wave to your camera.
We're probably pointing like southeast.
Okay. I don't know what's
This is riveting audio content, by the way.
I don't know what's north.
Mine's southeast. David would be hawking a.
Why does my phone not have a compass?
Southeast. Northeast.
The reason that we brought Adam on is that you suggested a topic to us that I thought was really interesting to cover at the end of this month. Sort of not related to... We can get into that, but sort of not related to this month's themes, but as an aside, now that kind of we've had time to breathe from it, I thought we would talk about the genre as a case study of Avengers Infinity War. So Adam, why don't you tell the people sort of how this came about?
How this came about? What? David, can I read them the thing? Is that... Can I just read them the thing? Like, worst case, we can cut all this out.
No, read them the thing. That's how I want to start. Yeah.
So I think probably a couple of weeks ago, I sent David this. I sent David a message. No, it's a copy pasta. Don't get me wrong. I did not birth this god tier writing into the world. So I'll just read it out. Does Thanos wipe his ass with the Infinity Gauntlet on or off? Let's say, for argument's sake, Thanos cannot just use the stones to get rid of the poop in his intestine or magically clean his ass. Most people wouldn't be comfortable using their non-dominant hand to wipe their ass. It would be too awkward. Using his left hand is a no-no in this scenario. Would he wipe with the gauntlet on? What if the toilet paper breaks? Would Thanos walk around with poo hands? The Infinity Gauntlet. Ugh. The Hulk would laugh at him. Let's say he takes off the gauntlet and puts it on the counter. This would make him vulnerable, wouldn't it? Maybe this was one of the outcomes that Doctor Strange saw in the 14,605 possibilities. Spider-Man swoops in, steals the gauntlet, toodles out of there without getting a sniff of Thanos poop. The rest of the Avengers cast would then swoop in and beat him senseless atop the toilet bowl. Ass unwiped. What happened? 4 possibilities, though. Thanos could run a Japanese-style bidet toilet seat. You know, the kind that just would jet wash you with lukewarm water, warm to your body's temperature, and then dry your ass with the loving warmth of a mother. Thanos would never have to take the glove off to wipe his ass. His ass would be sparkly clean without him needing glove to finger. To think that Japanese technology would be the undoing of the Avengers. Who would have thunk it?
So that was how our conversation started.
I think you sent me that as well, actually.
I did. I think I sent that to everyone.
Except our conversation didn't end in a discussion of the genre of Avengers Infinity War. I think it just ended with me saying
yours,
now and then that was it.
Yours ended with lol.
Yeah, I love it. So my summary for this one's super duper brief, so I just want to burn through it so we can get to the talking points, because everyone and their entire mother has seen this film.
Yeah.
So obviously, Avengers Infinity War is a 2018 American superhero film based on the superhero team The Avengers, produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by our new overlords, Walt Disney Studio Motion Pictures. It's the sequel to the 2012 Avengers and 2015 Age of Ultron, and it's the 19th film in the MCU.
Did we watch 18 films before? Fuck me.
No, we watched 17 because Ant-Man and the Wasp wasn't out.
Right. Okay.
So
I
feel like that's one I can just completely miss.
Fuck me.
Yeah. So we did a lot of films. Is what we're saying. So the story follows Thanos' journey to obtain the Infinity Stones across time and space. Along the way, he encounters the Guardians of the Galaxy, the Avengers, and ultimately must take a stone from Doctor Strange. The Avengers clash with Thanos in Wakanda, and finally Thanos obtains the final stone from the Vision. The Avengers are defeated, and Thanos snaps his fingers, killing half of the life in the whole universe.
Start. I don't feel so good.
You're all right.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Hurry. I don't want to go. I don't want to go, sir. Please. Please, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Sorry.
On the moon of Titan, Tony Stark watches Peter Parker die and is stranded. The Avengers are scattered and defeated. Roll credits. Everyone in the theater walks out in dead silence.
Yeah.
Because that's how that film ends.
Yeah, that was
I think I walked out saying that was just about all right at best.
I feel like we actually walked out in dead silence because
our entire cinema was quiet.
oh no, that's not true because the post credits scene rolled and I fucking hit your arm and I was like, it's Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah, you like
I was so excited.
You actually punched me.
Yeah, I was so excited.
It was the same thing when with Darth Maul appeared at the end of the Solo film.
Yeah.
You actually punched me.
I just get
You're like, it's there. I know, David. It's okay. Calm down.
Yeah, I know, David. I have eyes too. I can see.
I get excited when they do a thing. Like, yeah, it's a fucking weird film. So I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts before we duck into the analysis, talk about genre. What did you guys think of this coming back to it a second time or reviewing it? Kind of, you know.
I didn't watch this film a second time because fuck that. But
I said I was gonna watch it a second time, and then like work got in the way and other stuff got in the way.
Oh, so it was just me then.
Yeah, it was just.
And then also the new episode of Star Trek Discovery dropped, so it was like, you know what? Fuck this.
Fuck, that's a good show.
I gotta go watch better TV.
Yeah.
When I watched the film, and I still believe it now, it's just like it's a part one. Like it just needs the second part.
It's sort of
There's a reason why everyone left in silence because it's just the film isn't over.
It's not finished.
So,
yeah. It reads to me like.
Oh, thank you. It's a mess. I don't get how people enjoyed it. It's like you know the way Game of Thrones has a billion gazillion characters, but you can keep up with them all because it's written for the most part very well, and that the way we cut between transitions and stuff done in one area affects the other in the next, right? There wasn't that in Infinity War. All of the things happening were like completely separate. Now, even though they were all converging towards one end goal, all of the things happening were completely separate, and they felt like their own movies.
There's actually an edit someone made where they synced up the Wakanda fight and the fight on Titan because those happen at the same time. Because there's
and they edited them together. That would have been sick.
They edited it so that there's like a split screen where both the fights happen together. So when Thanos goes from Titan to Earth, that's like a seamless transition. And it's interesting because
it's a bit like that 500 Days of Summer split. You know, the expectation versus reality.
It's kind of like that.
Kind of like that, yeah.
But yeah, like it's. Even that edit where it's like, this is like chronologically correct, it's still just like doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's like even when you put it together and you piece it together how the real world, how like the time works. Yeah. Like I think even though I rag on converging storylines.
It's a good story. Like it's a really cool typical hero arc. It's just like a very atypical hero arc. A typical hero arc.
Right. Watching it again is interesting because, and we'll talk about it in a minute when we get to genre, but it was curious going back to it. I forgot how much of the story is just the hero's journey, but for Thanos. Like, it's not quite the villain's journey because that's actually a different story arc, but it definitely kind of has an element of you have to give a shit about Thanos to find this film at all interesting in any way. And it's not that I don't care about Thanos, but
I find it difficult not to. I was like, I kind of like empathized with him a little bit. Like he was the only character where like you felt, felt
in what way or for what reason? I guess.
Like you could tell he didn't want to throw Gamora off that fucking mountain ass portal looking thing with the Nazi like guy with his face melted off. Who's that guy called? What's that guy called? The fucking red dude.
The Red Skull guy.
Yeah. I honestly kind of empathized with him because I was like, that's sad, dude. But like all the other characters, like, yeah, they had, their own films where you could sort of build up a relationship with them, but it was like, Thanos was the only character that actually had like a level of emotion. Even when like, when Spider-Man died, I was like, okay, I've seen him for like an hour and a half before this. I don't really know who they are, to be honest with you, so I honestly felt for Thanos more than anyone else.
Yeah, he's empathetic, but the question is like, well, what's the story actually trying to do? And that's kind of what I want to get to the heart of. I think we should start because you and I were talking about genre and like the fact that kind of nitpicking of the way that the gauntlet works is like kind of not the point of the story. But to do that, we need to like quickly identify what we mean when we talk about genre in the first place. So contemporary genre theory, which is kind of led by people like Steve Pressfield, and then analyzed later by Sean Coyne. Coyne himself describes genre as not necessarily a marketing term, but rather a broad way of cataloging fiction. So he says genre rather is a series of classifications that can overlap. He puts forward that genre tells the audience about the potential expectations of a particular story. In short, it informs what obligatory scenes and required elements the audience will expect a story to have. For example, in a mystery narrative, you expect the equivalent of a quote-unquote discovering the body scene. You also expect a confrontation between the investigator and the murderer, which is the, like, j'accuse scene, and an ending that creates justice, injustice, or irony, which is to say justice is done, or the investigator gets their man but loses everything, or something in the process. And obligatory scenes aren't like hard and fast rules for writing, but the audience notices when they're missing. They're often the hardest scenes to write because they're so fucking cliche. A good example is the hero at the mercy of the villain, which is the scene in every James Bond film where the bad guy has James Bond captured and he's got a gun to his head and he explains his evil plot and then he goes, "I expect you to die, Mr. Bond." And then James Bond escapes using some knowledge he's learned from earlier in the narrative. The goal is always to innovate and reinvent these scenes in a way that feels fun and interesting, but you still kind of have to have those obligatory moments. A good example of that James Bond scene done well and done interestingly is in Silence of the Lambs when Clarice Starling is in Buffalo Bill's basement and the lights are out and Buffalo Bill has on some night vision goggles and Clarice Starling's in the dark with her gun. And she's at his mercy and there's no like great speech at that moment, but it plays the same scene as that James Bond moment. And Clarice ultimately wins the day by remembering that serial killers smell like moths, and she's able to sort of work out where he's standing, and then, because she's a crack shot, she kills him. And it's that complete innovation that makes that story so fascinating. But my question is superhero film an actual genre? Because if it is, Infinity War is not a superhero film. Because superhero films have obligatory scenes and obligatory expectations, where it's like, they're in an ordinary world, they're forced, to go into a new world by outside forces, they gain some new power, they're tested in the new world, and they have to search for themselves and discover what truly lies within, and overcome evil, but at the expense of something or someone else.
David, that's just the hero's journey.
It's just the hero's journey, but with powers, basically.
Yeah. Which surprise is still just the hero's journey.
Yeah, well, exactly. And the other option is they fail... they fail to get what they want, but they ultimately achieve what they need. And, like, sort of going through all of it in general, the thing that strikes me the most about Infinity War is that I have no fucking clue what genre the film is. Because it's got a hero's journey, kinda.
Well, I still stand by my belief that this film will make sense once the second part comes out. Mm-hmm. It'll just sort of actually either complete the hero's journey that is probably there somewhere. I don't know, maybe with Thanos, maybe with some other character.
Kinda, yeah.
Maybe it ends up being fucking, I don't know, like some weird side character's actual story. Or maybe like Captain Marvel will come out.
Could be Captain Marvel's story.
And then like the second half of Infinity War is actually just like Captain Marvel's arc. And the first half of Infinity War is actually just hot garbage. It's actually just shit.
Excited for Captain Marvel because fucking Phil Coulson, man. I'm excited to see that dude in the film again.
I mean, it's Brie Larson. I'd let her punch me in the face. Like, I'm just excited to see her as a lead character. Like, yeah. But no, I think you're right, though. They can either fix it by, or not fix it, but they can really double down on it by making it clear that was their intention all the while with Thanos. Or you're just left in the wind being like, what is this film then? Like, is it a superhero film? Does it fulfill those expectations? I don't think so, right? No. Because we never start the film with Thanos in the ordinary world. It starts in the Avengers world. And then you go, okay, well, is it Tony Stark's hero's journey? Not really, because he's not really on screen enough for that to be the case. Oh, well, is it...
no one's on screen long enough.
Yeah, is it Peter Parker's? Well, not... Is it Peter Quill's? Well, not really. Like, the protagonist of this story is not present, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it means that, like, there aren't really... kind of those expectations that you expect or that are laid upon a particular genre, So, like, it's just kind of not really a story that can be classified into those genres. Like, it's not a thriller, it's not a mystery, it's not like an action film, it's not like a romance.
Well, I think the reason why a lot of people attach like Thanos as being like, oh, Thanos is the main character is because he's the only character that stands out. Where you have, you know, you've got Tony Stark, you have Peter Quill, you have Thor, you have Thanos. Easily.
Thanos, yeah.
You
People
have all
done
these
that.
characters who are main characters are in their own films, but because they're kind of crunched together in this, they don't really have space to be a main character. So because of that, Thanos kind of fills in the void, even if it wasn't intentional. Just the fact that he actually has a backstory and he's actually introduced as a character rather than just existing in this universe.
Like, by volume, he's almost
It means
the
that he
default
becomes the main character, which means that if Marvel wasn't really intending for him to be the main character of the Infinity War duo kind of trio with what we're going to get with Captain Marvel being kind of a prequel, if Thanos isn't like the main character of the second film, then people are going to be so like annoyed at this first film.
Yeah.
Because it's going to set up Thanos as being like this kind of like anti-hero almost, or just like misunderstood villain, like quite well-developed misunderstood villain, and then they're just going to be like, actually, Infinity War is about Captain Marvel, and we're just setting up the second round of Avengers led by Captain Marvel.
Exactly.
Thanos is just a throwaway.
And there's even
Just a very powerful throwaway.
Just a literally omnipotent god tier throwaway.
Yeah, throwaway.
No, it's not. You just get rid of it. You just like kick him.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
I mean, they probably won't.
they probably won't.
They probably
But I
won't
mean,
do
like-
that.
like-
But
I was talking to Pat about it the other day, and he pointed out that one thing they did in the marketing is they made the film seem like it was about Captain America. They made it seem like it was about him coming back, and like they even manipulate that shot where he's holding the gauntlet up in the trailer and all these kinds of things, where it's like the marketing made it seem like it was going to be this battle of wills between Captain America, who's finally returning, and Thanos. And Steve
it's not
Rogers
at
is
all.
not the main character. He's barely in it.
he probably has the least screen time out of the main Avengers,
I can't think of a
except for
scene
Black
where
Widow.
Captain
And
America did something
I guess-
important in that film.
The only
I
one
guess
is
Hawkeye, who was not in this film.
Hawkeye's not in this film either. The only scene where he does something important is where he saves Scarlet Witch and the Vision in that subway tunnel.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that scene.
Which is quite good. The film starts really quite well, and then very quickly, the minute that Thor goes to forge his new weapon, the narrative plot
think
just
it's
kind of
like
crumbles.
Half of this film is the fight on Wakanda and the fight on Titan. That's like most of this film. Like when you think of this film,
Relevant. It should have just been cut from the film.
oh yeah, no, I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
It's just.
But it takes
it's
up
like,
such a
we don't
large
need
part.
that anymore. We've seen Lord of the Rings. We've seen the previous Black Panther. We've seen all of this
Aragorn.
already. We do not need a big epic skill battle of no consequence where everything's CGI and we know nothing's real and we know it's not going to affect
Thor
us.
to
We don't
come
need
in
that.
and to
Thor
play
turning up was
the-
fun though.
Yeah, it was.
Thor turning up was fun though. His big old axe, and he had Groot. And
Yeah,
Rocket
Thor was
also.
fucking cool. Thor was cool.
Yeah.
I'll give him that. Thor
Though
was
they could have
really
done that anyway. They didn't have to be in that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, like, I don't know. Because Adam, you and I were talking about the idea of when you have those genre things in mind, people assign different rules to different genres. So, like, in a detective story, like Sherlock, for instance, the TV show, that doesn't quite, like, it pretends to be a procedural detective drama, but it doesn't work because one of the expectations of that genre is that as an audience member, if you were just clever enough, all of the clues were there the whole time and you could put it together.
Yeah.
So like Elementary is a good version of that show because it does all of that stuff. But when you watch Sherlock, you feel cheated because Sherlock is
just
so
comes up
super
with
special,
shit.
awesome.
Yeah.
He has access to all this data you didn't know about. So you could never have figured it out.
I feel like as a viewer, it just kind of makes you feel a little bit dumb. Because it's like, oh, he has zoom and enhanced vision on every single thing, but I don't.
He has
even
such
that,
contempt
it's-
for his audience.
It's so because you kind of get introduced to Sherlock as being like this super smart character. You kind of just turn your brain off as soon as you get trained to turn your brain off because the show teaches you not to try to figure things out.
don't even
because-
bother.
Don't even bother because it's going to be some dumb shit that you couldn't follow, and like Moriarty will come back. I don't know.
Right, but except he never does. But even like
Whereas like with good detective shows like I don't know, like Midsummer Murders, or like the stuff that you see on Midsummer. Is that right?
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
on the BBC.
Yeah, yeah.
Like stuff like that. You're watching it, and you can actually kind of piece it together, and you're actually sort of engaging your brain.
If you go back and rewatch it, you can actually see all those clues in
yeah.
place, and you feel like that's an expectation of that genre is fulfilled in doing so.
Yeah.
But for example, in the other direction, if they do something in that genre that you feel is weird, like you have like a kickback. Like if you're watching, trying to think exactly. Like if you're watching Midsummer Murders and it turned out to be a werewolf, you'd be like, "What the fuck?
Yeah,
That's
like turns
weird."
into a Doctor Who episode.
Yeah, you'd be like, "That's really
Yeah.
strange." And in the reverse too, if you're watching a fairy tale, like no one who reads literary writing,
No one
goes,
expects
"Whoa,
a guy
whoa,
with a
whoa."
Glock to show up.
Yeah. Well, but they go, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, wolves can't talk." Like no one says that because it's a
Right.
fucking fairy tale. So then the question is like, well, what the fuck is Infinity War? Because it's kind of valid to argue, well, like, what are the Gauntlet's actual powers? But at the same time, it isn't, because it's a fucking dumb comic book film.
I feel like that argument used to be a valid one. Like, say for example, like the first Iron Man film comes out, it's like the way it's made obvious that, you know, the first suits, especially, you know, they have limitations on them. They can only do so much. They can only fly for so long. They can only do these things. Whereas by the time you get to Infinity War, it's a nanotech suit that is basically invulnerable, that has, you know, that can get punched and punched and punched and punched and set on fire and exploded and stuck inside of a nuclear bomb as it explodes, and it's fine! It's absolutely fine! Because no one ever died!
Until he runs out of nanites, whatever the fuck that is.
I think the Iron Man especially, he's just sort of the Deus Ex Machina machine. Like when they need him to be able to do something, they just make him do something.
Right.
But
I liked so much about like the older films was that they actually had, like, you know, you could kind of tell how far something could go. Like you could, you know, there were a range of plausible options that the viewer could lay out in their head for what the character was going to do next. Whereas now, because all the characters are just fucking omnipotent, it's like they can do whatever. It doesn't matter.
Except for the fucking Guardians, who are just still dudes.
even in like Iron Man 3, where he has all the different types of suits that are all like specialized to do different things. They even like that was cool because it was like, okay, it's not just one suit that does everything.
He's been tinkering forever.
He's been like making different
Yeah.
types of suits that, and like you don't really see them in action beyond that final fight, and even then they're all just basically
They just made a paper
regular.
mache.
Yeah.
Oh, I love I love those like transitions where he goes from like one suit to another, or he like jumps from a building and
It's
the
pretty
suit catches him.
Yeah.
I would have loved more of those. And it's like, okay, no, now we're like underwater. I need a new suit, so it like ejects him, and there's like that complete moment of like tension and stress as he's completely vulnerable, like at the bottom of an ocean, and then a new suit swoops down. That would have been fucking sick.
That's
dude.
cool,
Iron
but then
Man.
it's like he's a genius, so
But
like...
then Iron Man just turns into like his gimmick is just sort of launching in and out of different suits, which I feel like would just be a bit weird. Like that's not like as cool as that is. That's not very Iron Man. Like Iron Man is always just like there's the Iron Man suit. Like Iron Man 3 was a bit weird. It was cool, but like I can see why they went the nanotech all on one route.
Well, I
feel like
was
just
curious
ways
that they...
to give characters more vulnerability.
The thing is, Tony Stark's vulnerability now is
Is his issues?
well, it's his family and his person, like his
I was gonna say
personality
daddy
problem.
issues, but it's more of the inverse.
It's-
He's the
yeah,
daddy.
It's like his
and he's
issues,
causing the issues.
His issues now are like that he needs to keep himself safe because he's got a family and shit. And like that, I don't hate, but you're right. Like the vulnerability in the fights when Thanos. I think the minute that when Peter Quill shoots Gamora and it becomes bubbles or whatever, I was like, oh, the stakes are gone for all the fights now. Like I remember I was like, oh, okay, this is just Thanos could end any of these fights immediately. Why doesn't he?
Right.
Which is fine. Like that's not because he's not trying to kill people himself. He's trying to fucking snap his fingers. I get the premise of the film, but it does kind of undercut some of that dramatic tension during those fight sequences where you're like, well, is Spider-Man gonna survive? Is Doctor Strange gonna survive? But like, why would Thanos not immediately just reality jam them into fucking frogs or whatever?
I feel like I've actually found out what kind of genre Infinity War is. I feel like you've opened my eyes.
Okay, if you
What
have,
is it?
please tell me.
Infinity
Enlighten
War
us.
it's a sad dad story. That's what genre it is.
This is just
There
the
are
new
so
drama of
many
2020.
sad
Sign me up,
dads.
Scotty.
Sad dad.
Yeah, there's a lot of
There's
sad
so many
dads.
sad
Tony Stark's a
dads,
sad dad
dude.
with Peter Parker.
Yep.
Thanos is
Yeah,
a sad
Tony
dad with
Stark
Gamora.
had a
I'm
sad
sure,
dad.
I'm sure Hawkeye
Thanos is a
somewhere
sad
off being
dad.
sad.
He's
And he's a
sad
dad.
and a dad.
Yeah.
Peter Quill's biggest personality flaw is because he's a
His
sad dad.
His
His
dad's
dad,
sad.
and now he's
See?
sad.
And now he's sad.
It is a
Yeah.
sad dad story.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm actually all
Podcast
about
over.
it now.
I'll see you
Yeah, we
guys.
did
I'll
it.
see you guys later. Bye bye.
All right. Patreon.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is where we plug and wrap up because we've solved it. No, it is curious that is a theme. That's a weird through line for a lot of these.
Well,
Ant-Man's a sad dad.
Well, the thing is, Ant-Man, Peter Quill, and Iron Man are all the same character. So
Well, this is happening in video games as well. It's like the dadification of games. You
Yeah.
know, you've got your Last of Us. You've got your God of War. Yeah, it's a recent example. You've got your Walking Dead.
Yeah.
It's because a lot of these it's partly marketing because it's like, well, target audience for like, especially for like the nostalgia thing is like they're getting older. They're sort of becoming
that's true.
adults.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
was
like, all
gonna
right, we gotta shift from like cool teenage stuff to like
To-
emotions and sad
To
dads.
feeling sad because you're a dad.
Yeah. You don't see any sad mums like that. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
Like there is.
Women
there's
cannot
almost,
video games. Women
There's
aren't
almost
keeping video games.
no media based around like the struggles of a mother. It just doesn't.
Except
exist.
Bird Box, I guess.
Yeah, but then like people shit on it, so like we just can't have nice things.
Yeah, actually that's a good point.
Like
yeah.
Bird Box
internet
is
was
like one of the first like recent things.
The
Like
internet was like Sandra Bullock can't be.
yeah,
a
it's like one
mother.
of the most recent examples of like some media that deals with being a parent and not
People
male.
Fucking hated it because they had.
And even then, it's so generically like not female coded in the same way that like a lot of sad dads are.
correct.
It's very just like parenting.
yeah.
The Babadook. I haven't seen that, so I'm
Can't
gonna have
comment.
to can't comment on that one.
Can't comment.
Isn't that the one
Pat
where they
says
all
the
like go
Babadook.
insane or something?
I know
Like,
that's
it's like
I
a-
know that's
it's
got
like a
some
mother and a kid.
crazy like stop motion animation that's creepy as fuck.
I hate
know
that shit.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
they do that frame skippy
They
thing.
they do
as
like the
well,
frame
yeah.
skippy, yeah.
Just
Oh, that aggravates the fuck out of me, dude.
Dude, I
It's-
love it. I
there's,
love
like,
it, but it
Really?
scares the bejeebies
There's
out of me.
so
It's
many
upsetting.
better
It's
ways to
okay.
do that, bro.
Nah,
it's
something about that
something
gets me every
ethereal,
time. I think the other thing too, though, with Marvel in particular, is they've got to a point now where this is the kind of penultimate like Empire Strikes Back moment. It's when everything goes terribly wrong, and suddenly these characters have to face the consequences of being these heroes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But Tony Stark survives, which we knew was going to happen because we see that in the flash forward in Age of Ultron. But it's very weird that for a story that contains so many different superhero genres coming together, you have Black Panther, which is Afrofuturism. You have like Iron Man 3, which is like very much a thriller. You have
Ragnarok,
which is like a comedy space opera.
Yeah.
You have Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, which is definitely like a space opera action film, and then you have Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which is like a space opera dad kind of.
Sad dad.
It's like a family drama.
It's like the first sad dad.
It's fucking yeah.
And then you've got
then you got
Spider-Man, which
Homecoming.
is just the first. It's just another hero.
It's just
Arguably
a
the
hero's
saddest dad.
and
story.
by far the
Saddest of all
saddest
the
dad, and by
dads.
far the best sad dad story. I
There's a
think.
lot of sad dads in that one.
Yeah.
There are dads, and then there are figuratively dads.
Yeah, well, then there are
They're
father
all-
figures.
Father figure dads, and they're all very sad.
Yeah, that's a great film because it explores those issues in the context of being the hero's journey about like a comic book character.
It's also a high school.
And it's also set in high school,
film.
which is a soft spot for me for some reason.
Yeah. David's just
I don't know
full
what
of
the fuck
full
that's
of a lot of
about.
problems.
I got a lot of issues. But it's curious that when I was thinking about this, doing the research, trying to work out like where I wanted to talk about, I kept coming back to like that genre question of like, what is it? Because knowing what it is trying to be tells you what to expect, and knowing what to expect tells you how well it fulfills that. But I think, Adam, you're right. Like, you can't judge this by like, oh, well, why didn't Thanos just use the reality gem to make everyone into confetti during the fight on Titan or whatever? Because he's still a dude. Like, he's still got these emotions. He's just sacrificed Gamora, thinking it's like a noble thing to do, thinking that's a heroic thing. Even though in this film we literally see like, 5 or 6 other Avengers just before this and just after this continue to make similar sacrifices. But for some reason, when Thanos does it, because he's a bad guy, it's a bad thing to do.
Yeah, but
Like,
why does he not? I need to.
Why does he-
I need like, if that's what you're saying, I need you to like explain to me why he doesn't just turn everyone into confetti.
I don't know. Go to
He can
I
do
don't
that.
know.
He's already
Yeah.
killed hundreds
Film
upon,
theory.
if not millions of people. Why does he not? What is his massive moral jump?
You need a plot for the
Why
story.
can he not
and the
kill
game-
like 14 people? Don't make a character omnipotent and evil if you then won't let that omnipotent
He's not
evil character
He's chaotic.
kill all the
He's
good guys.
neutral.
He's not evil, Adam. He believes he's doing the right thing.
He's
chaotic
lawful
neutral. He's
good.
like massacred planets.
Chaotic
That's not a
neutral.
snap. That's
No,
fucking
He's like
killing
Darth Maul
people.
ethos.
He's like neutral evil.
Yeah, he's neutral evil. It is. No, I know what you're saying, but there isn't an answer, and that's where that question of genre bumps up against wild logic, and there isn't, like, we don't know yet, because I think one of the problems with this Marvel cinema, or not a problem, but a thing that's emerged from these 19 films, is that because each film is so uniquely different, the rules of this universe don't seem to exist. Like, we kind of know what Iron Man can do, and we kind of, like, know that...
Whether they change it every film.
Yeah, like,
basically.
Doctor Strange is magic, but, like...
Yeah.
You know, he turns up in Thor Ragnarok and has spells we've never seen before. Like,
Yeah,
the
what are
rules seem to
Doctor
be-
Strange's limitations? How do we, as an audience, how do we understand those?
You're not supposed to
don't.
because it's magic.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell you the rules from the comic books and they adhere to them, but like that's not exciting. The exciting thing is being like,
Yeah,
what can
but,
he
like,
do? And not knowing is kind of fun.
I shouldn't need to know the rules from the comic books. I should understand what's too much of a fight for him through the
Yeah, but
screen.
the film was asking you not to examine
don't-
that by the nature of its genre, right? You watch Doctor Strange, and in that
I
first film,
no, I wouldn't examine
could
that.
just do the
I wouldn't
magic
examine it in Doctor Strange. I wouldn't examine it in Doctor Strange. But in the context of, like, a high sci-fi film, I'm gonna examine the magician. What are the magician's limitations in this sci-fi technology-oriented film?
he can hover and see through
I
time.
don't think this is sci-fi. This isn't
Yeah,
sci-fi. This is
I
just
wouldn't-
pure fantasy.
I wouldn't call it sci-fi because it doesn't have any of the space opera element. I don't know.
There's also
It's
no science to it.
yeah. There's no. There's
Oh,
no,
that's
like,
yeah,
it's-
that's
it's
true. Okay,
sort
okay.
of, I don't know. I mean, you could call Guardians of the Galaxy sci-fi. By nature, an element of this story is sci-fi, and like you know, the spaceships and fucking Thor's hammer is made from a dwarf star or whatever and shit. But like, it's not like hard sci-fi.
Star
It's just
Trek.
got elements of it. But no, I don't know. I think you're right, Adam. Though it's like the question of like, well, what the fuck can any of these characters do, and where are the rules, and why doesn't Thanos
It's
just
what
use
they
the
can't
stone?
do.
Well, yeah, where are the Well, what are the
I
limitations?
don't want to know what they
of
can.
what
I
they
just
can
want to know
do?
what they're not able to do. Just so I
Apparently,
like
take
I
the glove off.
understand.
I don't know. Apparently,
I
take
feel like
glove
the
off.
strongest
Yeah.
character who's like sort of grounded in his own rules is Thor. Like he's the easiest to understand. It's just lightning and bashing things.
But that's also
Actually, yeah, that's true.
Captain America gets a little ridiculous at times.
Spider-Man's
Like
easy,
the
'cause he
jumping
ain't
from a
got no power.
building or something.
Yeah, and like crouching
Yeah.
into a ball and just landing on the shield and being generally fine. Well, I guess he's a super soldier, but like Thor
But it's like
can get away
he's
with
got
stuff 'cause he's
enhanced
a god.
bones. He drinks
Yeah.
a lot of milk.
But that's he's just a big
Man, what if
he's
Captain America was
big dairy
lactose
boy.
intolerant?
Oof,
He's
that'd
like,
be
oh, I gotta drink my milk, but it just makes me poop everywhere.
just keep shedding.
He's just got like a catheter. He's got like a bag.
oh fuck,
okay.
Colin, that's big bad.
He is like 90 something, so
That's a
cut
good
him
point.
some slack.
Yeah, that's a good point. He is a pensioner.
Oh fuck.
to kind of wrap up that thought, I guess, and to see if we can get to a conclusion here.
He's like, so you shat your pants.
Oh no.
All right, I think we're gonna wrap this episode up.
Okay, right. Let's let's moving swiftly forward.
Moving very quickly on. My kind of closing thought was just going to be that because there isn't an easy way to classify this film, I think everyone's going to take it differently, and everyone's going to have a different opinion on, can Doctor Strange do this? Should Spider-Man be able to do this? Is this within Tony Stark's abilities? Why doesn't Thanos just kill everyone? And there isn't an answer because this is such an emerging genre of film, let alone, the comics have been around forever, but to do it in film is very different, and I think to do it in the way they've done it, where they've had a bunch of films in different subgenres that are all superhero films coming together, the answer is they're probably not sure what the rules are themselves, and they're just trying to tell a story that feels compelling at the time. And I think there's going to be a lot of think pieces after Endgame comes out about how, the world building is broken, and Matt Pat's going to do, 5 videos on
Oh man.
why Thanos didn't just kill everyone to start with and all that stuff. And in the act of asking the questions, hopefully we get some more clarity on our expectations, not just, being able to come to a conclusion, because I don't think there is one. Adam, did you have any kind of closing thoughts that you wanted?
I think I've said everything that I wanted to say, if I'm being honest. Like, I think that, like, in combining so many different genres of film, they're kind of just doomed to end up with a bit of a muddled mess. I feel like with a little bit more foresight and with a little bit more actual proper, like, designation of how it's all going to work, I feel like it could have worked better. But honestly, at the end of the day, whether you really want to read into it like we are or you don't, it's like, it's still a fun film. And I feel like with its closing half, provided they can tie everything up all right and sort it out, it will be a good set of 2 films. That's what my hope is, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm interested to see whether, like, Captain Marvel sort of becomes like the second film in the trilogy.
Right.
Just because, for one, they're releasing it super close, like a month.
Yeah.
There's like a month between those 2
really
films.
excited for Captain
Like,
Marvel.
it almost feels like it is going to be sort of like the prequel, I guess,
like
because
an
like it has to be, like,
it's like
just
an intro
everything's
prequel.
pointing to it.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting. It would be interesting if it's like, you know, the Infinity War films. It's like Infinity War, just slide Captain Marvel in the middle there, and then you go to Endgame.
Exactly. And, you know, storytelling in general is a bit like paint. If you're trying to get a particular color, you add 2 or 3 colors together, it works really well. But after a while, if you keep adding shit, it just becomes brown.
Yeah.
And brown isn't like a fun color to paint with. So I would love for them to succeed moving forward in a general sense with their ability to execute on Endgame. I have not great expectations, but
Turn your phone off, Adley. Oh
God
my
damn it, Adam.
I'm sorry, dude. What the
So
fuck?
unprofessional.
No, what? I'm literally just now getting the notification for this live stream.
Oh, that's good.
That's
stuff,
how
YouTube.
fucked YouTube notifications are.
Good
You
stuff,
think you
YouTube,
think
but-
you think like YouTubers are memeing on this? Nah, boys. Getting my notification at the end of the podcast. Thanks, YouTube.
Well,
Thanks. Thank you.
Before we do our plugs, Adam, where can people find you if they wanted to follow you?
Pretty much ThatAdly everywhere. It's youtube.com/ThatAdly, twitter.com/ThatAdly, pornhub.com/ThatAdly.
We do a weekly live stream on Twitch.
We do indeed.
Saturday morning Brisbane time, Friday night European time.
Yeah, it's 9 p.m. GMT, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4 p.m. if you're on East Coast America, and that's 4, 3, 2, 1 p.m. if you're on West Coast America, 1, 2,
Good stuff.
3 p.m. if you're in the middle of America.
That was some beautiful mind shit, Adam. Well done.
Yeah, like I was like doing the equations. You know, like that
Priest and
graphic in
Christopher.
Sherlock where the math equations are like flying by my head
On your
and
head.
shit.
Yeah. Like cool whoosh sound effects. Yeah.
But no, we do a stream that's gonna be tomorrow. What not
Ooh,
for
and
people for people watching the VOD obviously, but like
It
for
will
anyone
be
in the live
done
stream.
by then. But we're playing Subnautica below.
Yeah, we are. Subnautica just dropped their
below
new.
0, whatever.
Is it like
it's called.
a content update or is it like a new
It's an
game, or-
expansion. It's like an expansion pack that's kind of a
Little
new
bit of
game, sort of. Yeah, it's a bit of both.
I'm really excited to throw more money at Unknown
I want
Worlds.
them to have all
I'm
the
not.
money.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Like I'm so excited. Subnautica is a masterful game. I can't
It's
say enough
beautiful.
good things about it.
And we're actually also covering that next week on AFA Pod. So if you want to be up to date with what we're covering, that would be the thing to consume for next week.
Munch down on it.
Chow down on some Subnautica and some good bloody ice cubes because that's going to be a
Seriously,
cold
even if you
time.
just play for like a couple hours, you will become hooked on that game.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a way to not get hooked
I
on
don't
it.
think that. Yeah, it's so spooky. Yeah, I love it. Ben, where can
So
people
good.
find us?
Facebook,
DCMWorks Social.
YouTube,
YouTube.com/DCMWorks.
Twitter,
At DCM_works.
Patreon.
Patreon.com/DCMworks. If you go to a Patreon, you can get all of our bonus content. It's over 60 hours of additional content, all kinds of things like part 2s, behind the scenes, our post shows, all kinds of great stuff you can find on that Patreon. It starts at $3 a month, and you basically get access to all of that content immediately. You can watch listen to our Road to Infinity War, where across a number of 8 weeks, we watched every single Marvel film, and it nearly fucking killed us.
Wait,
Fucking
real shit!
sick.
I didn't even know you did that. I'm gonna
yeah,
have to. I'm gonna
we
have
get
to follow the
hysterical.
Patreon.
It was a
Yeah,
mistake.
there was a few weeks where we just Like it was just
There are
us.
a few rough ones.
There was one week where I just started yelling for like 30 minutes because I was so furious. I believe that was the Ant-Man week, and I was just fuming. I don't know. I was just so mad.
It's Ant-Man, so that's fair.
Yeah, it was Age of Ultron plus Ant-Man or something like that, and I just fucking lost my mind. So you can go check that out.
By the way, before we end things off, I want to just say, in before David literally loses his career by comparing Infinity War to The Empire Strikes Back. Just want to put that out there.
It's kind of preemptively.
I call Zelda Link on a regular weekly basis, so at this point, everyone knows I'm faking it.
David came to me once and he was like, "Oh, do you like playing as Metroid in Smash?" And I was like, "You mean Samus?"
I don't want to talk about it.
Excuse me?
I'm.
Did you say that? Did you seriously say that?
No,
actually, we were playing Smash and I got a Metroid. He's like, "What is that?" And I was like, "It's a Metroid." He's like, "Oh, so it's like from the game Metroid." And I was like, "No, it isn't. That's the Metroid."
That's the Metroid. Yeah.
And I was like, "It's like a Zelda situation."
Didn't know
He's like,
one.
"Oh no."
Yeah. So
that's bad.
Confirmed fake gamer.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks.
Not a real gamer boy.
Not a real gamer boy. Thanks for watching. This live. Thanks for listening. If you're on the podcast feed, do all the things you guys do to content, do the ratings and whatever the hell you feel like doing. Best thing you can do to help us is just to tell one person you think might enjoy it, whether they're a writer, or storyteller, or game designer, whatever you think they'd enjoy it. Just send them a big old link and say, check out this weird content. If
Hell
you want.
Yeah. Real fun being on here.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate having you, and obviously you're trapped now, and we'll keep having you on because no way in, no way out.
You just activated our trap card. Always being on the podcast.
You've nailed that one, Ben. Yeah. Adam, was there anything else you wanted to say before we head off?
Have a groovy morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are, viewers.
God. Okay. Well, otherwise, if you want to follow us individually, I'm at DC My Head Pod.
I'm at Literal Citrus.
Adam,
what's your Twitter handle?
Oh, my Twitter. It's ThatAdly everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
No, you say at ThatAdly.
At
ThatAdly.
Yeah.
See you guys.
It's just at.
Ach.